before we start and get into the concept of Move Europe, which is promoting legal migration possibilities within Europe for people with a refugee background, I think it will be good to give a short introduction on who is on the call today and who's able to answer questions and able to present and has been involved with the project. We've got quite a few people on the call, so we won't be able to do a full round of introductions because I guess that would take almost a full 2 hours, but feel free to write in the chat as well if you want to let us know who you are and which organization you are with, or where you're based, etc. But yeah, I'll start in terms of people on the call today. So my name is Fabienne. I work with an organization called Mobile Info Team, which I'll explain a little bit more later on in the call about as well. And I've been involved with the Move Europe project for a little bit over a year now, in setting up the project, which we'll talk about more as well, of course. Maybe Karla, you want to introduce yourself as well?
Yes, thank you, Fabienne. Hello, everybody. My name is Karla. You can forget about my German surname. It's too complicated. I'm a co-founder of the program Move Europe and also of the association which is behind the program called Migration miteinander. It's German. It means migration together. And I'm very happy to be here today and share with you what is Move Europe about, and also what we exactly want to do with this program and how we can support people with a refugee background in Europe. And maybe Mohammed also wants to present himself because he's here today to share his experience.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Karla. My name is Mohammad and I am from Yemen, and I was participant in Move Europe for 3 months.
Great. Nice to have you on the call as well.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Michael, you want to go next?
Yes, of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael. I also have a complicated German surname, so let's also forget about that one. So I'm the director and co-founder of the Mobile Info Team, and yeah, was involved in the start of the project with Move Europe at the very beginning.
And mine.
I continue.
Mari, are you able to introduce yourself as well?
Hey, Fabienne, we cannot hear you well. I don't know if it's your connection or...
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. I was asking if Mari would like to introduce herself.
I can do it. I hope you can hear me. Yes? Okay. So I'm also working for MIT, and just by coincidence, I'm also co-founder of Migration Together, Migration miteinander. And I'm today looking at the chat. So if you have any questions, to just write it in the chat, and in the end, I will, I will ask the questions to the people who could best respond to it. So yeah, you're welcome, very welcome to do that.
Okay, great. I think we'll also have Alpha joining us, but I don't think he's on the call yet. He will be here a bit later also to share his experience. So he'll pop in once he's available. So for now we can start with a quick overview of the agenda for today. Of course, we'll explain what is Move Europe, because I think a lot of us haven't heard of the concept before, or maybe seen it come by, but don't know exactly what it is. And like Mohammed already shared, and also Alpha, who will join us, we'll hear from both of them how their experience in the program was. And then we'll talk a little bit more about the current status of the project, how you can get involved and which tools are available. And like Mari already said, please ask any questions you have. We'll have a question and answer session at the end, but also feel free to write in the chat or even raise your hand if there's something that is not clear during the presentation. And we can try to address that straight away. Just as a short introduction, also like why are we here? Why are you seeing the people that you're seeing and so forth? As a general start. Yeah, so how did we kind of end up here presenting the opportunities, the mobility opportunities within the Move Europe program? So initially there was a pilot project with the organization Vita Cracio Mita and Ander and Universo in Italy. Excuse my pronunciation, I see Karla smiling. I will say MICMEET, which is the abbreviation. So they started the pilot project, which was already supporting mobility programs. And then after that, about 2 years ago, there was what is called a KA2 project. KA2 or Key Action 2 is a Erasmus Plus funded project. So it's a cooperation between different organizations that support programs in education, training, youth, sports. And this funding or this kind of setup of program was used to then develop the actual concept, the tools, and build a sustainable network and project. So there were 8 partners, or there are 8 partners actively involved in this 2-year course, 2-year journey. Some of them you might know, others not, but just a quick round. MICMEET is based in Germany. Then if we go anti-clockwise, there's Universo in Italy, Connex in Belgium, Mobile Info Team in Greece, the support group network in Sweden, YPeer in Bulgaria, Progestion in Spain, and AMSET in France. Yeah, so I think we'll switch over to Karla, who will start to talk a bit more about what actually is Move Europe.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. Thank you, Fabienne, for this introduction. Before I start talking about Move Europe and what we actually want to do with this program that wants to promote intra-European mobility opportunities for refugees in Europe, there are a lot of words inside that are actually have to be clarified, I think. I just want to start with how everything started. So in 2017, we were a group of young people from different backgrounds, and we were actually observing that in Europe, most people that newly arrived to Europe have a lot of information, in most of the cases, hopefully, about the national context where they find themselves or the local context, on how to apply for asylum and so on, but not really on the full European context, and especially also about their rights and opportunities in the European context. And I think most of you are participating from Greece, so I think I don't need to explain you how different the reception conditions are in each European country, about the, let's say, unfair distribution of people just automatically because they arrive to the border countries, and often in these border countries, maybe the socio-economic situation is not the best, and it's to find also the future that you are looking for, or to build up a stable life. So we wanted to create actually a program that on the one hand side can inform people about the opportunities in the European space. And on the other hand side, we were kind of brainstorming on if there are not alternative ways to offer an alternative perspective to people, not only in the country where they find themselves, but also in another European country, which means that we needed to understand if there are kind of legal pathways to move from one country to the other, because people that apply for asylum or people that receive a benefit, like beneficiaries of a protection status, do not have the same mobility rights than European citizens have. So that's how we founded Move Europe with this intention, and the association behind it as well. So Move Europe is really our main mission, let's say, and the organization behind it is this unpronounceable Migration miteinander. And Fabienne, we are actually thinking to change the name also to MIGMIT because it's too hard for people to pronounce it. And yeah, what do we actually want to do with Move Europe, or what do we do with Move Europe? I will talk later also about what we mean with refugees and intra-European, because we started, of course, this program started as a pilot project, like Fabienne mentioned, in a binational context between Italy and Germany. And it's actually still mainly where we are active, but the idea, of course, behind it is to talk about mobility in Europe. And I will talk more about it later as well. So on the one hand side, as I said, we wanted to create a program that can simply give information about mobility rights and opportunities for the target group in Europe. So what we try to do since 4 years now is to, for example, what we also did in the framework of this program that a project that Fabienne presented, is that we try to research on information on how people can move, actually, what are the opportunities, how does it work in each country. And we try to create information material for the target group themselves, but also for social workers, for organizations that are active in the migration or youth field, and so on. And then on the other hand side, we concretely try to support people to move from one country to the other through for different opportunities. And how do we do it? It's actually no rocket science. We use existing legal tools that we resort to, like, for example, the visa procedure, because I think you are all aware that if a person finds him or herself in one of the European member states and has a residence permit and a travel document, they are allowed to move up to 90 days, but only for touristic reasons, not for work or studies or something like this. But with a visa procedure and with a concrete objective, like, let's say, a voluntary service or apprenticeship, you have like a contract and an objective and aim to go to this country, you can actually move also for a longer period than 3 months. So what we try to do is, together with our network, to organize these kind of mobilities, short and long terms. We defined this short and long term simply because for a short-term mobility that is less than 3 months, you would not need a visa, and for long-term opportunities that is more than 3 months, you would need actually a visa. And a short-term mobility can be, for example, a very short mobility like a youth exchange of 2 weeks, or a short-term voluntary service like Mohammed did, so later he can share his experience. And a long-term mobility could be a voluntary service, or also an apprenticeship, or other like studies and so on. Unfortunately for work, it's really challenging, especially for Germany, because not everyone can easily get a visa for work, especially if it's unqualified work. So we cannot really support to move for work at the moment, but it's something that we try to work on for the future to change it. Yeah, I just simply want to repeat again who can actually participate in Move Europe. So as I mentioned before, and I think as most of you might know, as an asylum seeker, so when a person finds him or herself still in asylum procedure, the person unfortunately has not a right to move to move outside of the national borders of the country where he or she finds himself. Program do not have the means so far to change something about this. But anyways, what we believe is important is to inform everyone about their mobility rights and opportunities. So we still try to reach out also to this target group and to inform them what could be an opportunity in the future to move legally from one country to the other. Because another thing that I think that most of you are aware of is that, especially in Greece, when people receive their residence permit and travel document, so for example, the refugee status, they anyways move to another country because lack of opportunities, or because maybe simply personal reasons, they have family members in another country. And of course, then once they arrived in the second member state where they moved to, let's say to Germany, they have to do another asylum procedure because they cannot legally just stay there. So we try to inform still also this target group, because we want to inform people also about the fact that they might go through another procedure again and spend time and years in like a legal limbo, let's say, or even worse, can be deported back to Greece. And then the actual group of people that we can support in the mobility are people that I wrote here, beneficiaries of a protection status, and not refugees, because in the end, actually, any person, any third country national that has a valid residence permit and a travel document can participate. And we put it very broad in this definition, because in some countries, like also, for example, Greece and Italy, in the past years, some of the complementary protection statuses have been abolished through the right-wing populist governments, for example, in Italy. And those people that had first a complementary residence permit found themselves from one day to the other to kind of without a residence permit, and they had to find a solution. So there are many people nowadays that have, for example, a work permit, a student permit, but actually originally they have been someone with a protection status. So we try to keep it quite broad to reach out to as most people as possible. But the most important requirement is actually that the person has a valid residence permit and a travel document. We are aware also of the fact that having a travel document already can be a challenge for many people, because if you have a subsidiary protection status, you do not have automatically also travel document. And we also try to support people with that. But of course, we cannot support each person in their local context to receive a travel document. Yeah, here I summarized again a little bit who can participate or who we can support in the mobility. So of course, the people that have a valid residence permit and a travel document, they can actually do both long-term or short-term mobilities. And if a person is, for example, interested to make a long-term mobility, we support them with all the steps with visa and so on. And then there's a second interesting target group or group of people that I mentioned before that we also try to support, is people that find themselves already in a second member state. So for example, a person with a refugee status in Greece just decides to move to Germany, let's say not legally, but irregularly, and applies again for asylum, launches a second asylum claim, and the asylum claim is rejected, or even the person has a Dublin information to be deported back to Greece. So we try to also reach out to these people or to be in contact with them and support them to move back, like to inform them about the fact that if they voluntarily leave the country and move back to Greece, we can actually try to find an opportunity to legally go back to Germany through the visa procedure. I can also give an example. So one time, for example, a young person who was in Bremen by that time reached out to us, and he had a residence permit in Italy, and he applied again for asylum in Germany, and after 7 months the asylum request was rejected and he should go back to Italy. And in this moment he found out about Move Europe, and together we supported him to go back to Italy and renew his residence permit there, and then we found an apprenticeship to go back to Germany. So now he is legally in Germany doing his apprenticeship. Of course, there are many challenges and barriers inside, so it's easy to say it like that, but it can be possible and can be a solution for some people. Here, I just wanted to give you an overview of what we concretely do with mobility support. For example, Mamadi was one of our participants, and I think also Alpha and Mohammed can just share their experience later better than me, telling you how it works. But what we try to do is when a person reaches out to us, first to have a first interview or meeting with the person to understand what are actually the needs of the person, why he or she is interested to move, what is the motivation behind it, and what is the legal situation of the person, how can we support him or her. And then in a second step, if the person has the basic requirements, so a valid residence permit and a valid travel document, we try to find a suitable mobility opportunity, let's say, for him or her. At the moment, I will share more about it later as well, but we have built a network of organizations here in Germany that offer voluntary services. And we also try to work on a network with companies that want to offer apprenticeships. Why do we believe that the voluntary service is a great opportunity? Because it offers the persons to have a first experience in Germany, to learn or improve the language, to get to know the country. And if a person is staying for long periods, so for example, for 12 months, it can be a good moment to even find a second, like an opportunity to stay, for example, in an apprenticeship or studies or something else. So that's why we are promoting this voluntary service opportunities, also because you do not need any language skills, German language skills, to do a voluntary service in Germany in most of the cases. So at the moment, we basically especially focus on the voluntary service, and we match the person then with a suitable host organization. For example, at the moment, we have like 30 voluntary service opportunities in October in very, very different fields, in gardening, in cooking, in working in organization like nonprofit organizations that work with children or youth, or even also in the migration field and so on. And when the person accepts the offer and also the host organization accepts the person, then we proceed with all the necessary bureaucratic steps, and we support the person with the visa procedure and the preparation before departure and so on. And of course, also when the person arrives, then we try to be always in contact and see if the person wants to stay, to find maybe an opportunity to remain in Germany. This all would never be possible without our partners. So we have like partners in the different countries. As I mentioned before, this whole process at the moment is mainly happening towards Germany, because we are having most of the experience with the opportunities here and the legal situation here in Germany. And with the partners that are in other European countries. So for example, Universo is one of our oldest or most oldest partners in Italy, that can also consult people on spot and so on. And we are currently enlarging our network. And we have also mentors in different countries that can support. So without them, it would never be possible. And for information and consultation, we have like a legal help desk. I will share the link later. Maybe you know someone that could be interested in these opportunities, so you can share with them these contacts.